Great.
So 6:58.
7. Whenever you're ready.
It's the computer clock that's wrong.
Right.
Okay, all right then. 7 o'clock, we'll call the September Village Council Northport meeting to order. Let the roll call show that all trustees are in attendance, and I'd like to welcome Dr. Barb Conley to the council. Before we move on to approval, I thought if we could pause for a moment of silence to wish our former council member Nancy Peterson a happy heavenly birthday today. So we'll just pause here for a minute. All right, I counted to 12 for her 12 years of service to the Northport School Board.
You can count that.
Yeah. Next up, we have approval of the council meeting minutes from 2 meetings, July 19 and August 3rd.
Move approval of the July 19th minutes.
Second.
All right, moved by James, supported by Drew to approve the meeting minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Let me just say, I have a
This
few.
is the 19th of July.
Oh, the 19th, okay, yes, aye,
Okay,
sorry.
Oh, you and I all
Yeah, we have a few, yeah.
the same way.
we're good on 19th.
Yep.
3rd.
Move to approve the August 3rd meeting minutes.
Second.
All right, moved by James, supported by Susan to approve August 3rd meeting minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Oh, we have some.
Discussion, sorry.
Yeah.
I
had several
I don't
that I
even,
gave
oh,
to-
no, I didn't have community liaison, so.
It's all minor, there's nothing substantive that I found.
Yeah, I think
On
that's
page
true.
1, Cindy is listed as the community liaison. Also,
On page 2, you said?
on page 1, in the.
Right at the roll call.
The roll call, staff present.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And then I've got some spelling corrections, which I can show you later, but then on page 4, under iPads, tablets for council members. No, I reread it and it makes sense. And then I got another little typo.
Yeah, we've got the same one on page 6.
Green and Niehoff is Newhoff is spelled incorrectly in both places on page 6 and page 8. I had to look it up.
It's from the transcription.
Yeah.
I gave you those two.
Yeah, just a little things, but we'll show you later.
Okay.
And, yeah, everything's, there's an extra T on it.
Yeah, just a little stuff.
And so with those.
Nothing substantive.
So.
I gave her ones already too. It's probably some of the same ones, but yeah. So I think they're really great minutes stuff. Like, I really like them. It's my favorite girl.
Oh, yeah, very girl. Thank you, Julie. Okay, so now we vote to
vote
approve.
as
Yep,
amended.
yep, so to approve the minutes as amended, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, we're good. Approval of the agenda, amendments, additions. I'd like to move item 9C, resolution for law enforcement grants, up behind correspondence before staff reports. So Officer Locke, Deputy Locke here can talk about that. Any others? Okay. All in favor of the agenda as amended?
Wait,
Yep.
well, it's discussion potential action on this law enforcement grant, and I'm just gonna request that because it hasn't been a discussion item before, and I have a few things to say about it. I just saw it for the first time tonight, that this not be an action item.
Okay.
That's the resolution, that's what we just put them.
So that,
And
So-
he doesn't want it.
I don't want to vote it on tonight now.
okay.
To be part of the discussion.
I've got a lot to say about it.
Yeah, we can move it up so he can.
And I want to provide the council with some correspondence I've had with the prosecutor.
Okay.
So, yeah, no.
All right, so, okay,
Move to approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
agenda?
It's a good agenda now. Yeah.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay. We come to our first public comment. If you'd like to be recognized, you can raise your hand or unmute on Zoom. Public comment is 5 minutes. Any takers? Yeah.
As most of you know, my name is Tom Woodruff, and I'm a lucky guy who was commissioned back in 1983 to make the village signs. And this is a picture of village signs as they're being made in the barn on Camp Haven Road, finished off. And I just want to thank the village for the opportunity to keep those signs looking good and to finish them and get them looking fine. I got a call from today from BBW saying that they were putting the sign up. I went down. The setting is absolutely beautiful. It's never looked that good ever, and the setting is perfect right there with the location. It's going to be great to have it there. But one difference is here with the sign is rather than finishing it in both varnish and enamel paint. I wanted to have something more secure on it, so I called Darren Irvine and asked him if he would put a clear coat on it. He put 2 clear coats on it, and when Chris called him up, Chris from the DPW called him up, he said that he was a little worried, concerned because it had turned yellow, the finish had turned yellow. Well, when I drove down and turned around to see them putting it up at that time, it was just absolutely beautiful. It looks like a museum piece. Yellow is not yellow, it's amber. And it made the white sails of the boat look like old canvas. It made it just absolutely rock. So I hope you all like it when you drive by and look at it. It was a lot of fun to work on, and that's all I got to say. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, Tom. Anyone else?
I would like to speak, if I might.
Sure.
I can be seated or I can stand up.
Either your. It just say,
Okay,
you
well, I
state,
do have a
I should have
clipboard.
said at the beginning,
As
you
a
need to
former
state your
college
name
professor, they
and
used to call me
residence.
Clipboard Janet, so. My name is Janet Crane, I'm president of the Northport Performing Arts Center. And next to me is Lisa Drummond, who is the operations manager of the Performing Arts Center. We have a proposal for the Northport Village Board members. As you know, that Music in the Park on Friday nights during the summer is a family-friendly event that brings residents, guests, children, and dogs to our beautiful park and village. The music that we hear and enjoy wouldn't happen if it weren't for one very special person who hires the bands and has been sitting at the sound console for 38 years to make sure that all of us in the audience are able to hear the music. This person uses his own equipment and sets it up and takes it down every Friday night. Our proposal is to have the Northport Village Board consider naming the Marina Park gazebo after Kent. Ooh.
It is on the agenda.
Thank you.
It looks like Alan Delzell has his hand up in Zoom if there's nobody in person here. Alan?
Yes, Alan Delzell. I'm in the township, not the village. You do encourage us to come to the meetings via Zoom, but we can't hear. And I know you're working on a system. Number one, when people speak from the audience during public comment, we can hear nothing. Secondly, I talked to Joni one day because I've got an idea. You're going to be talking about personal computers tonight. And when we talk on personal computers on Zoom, we hear each other really great. Now the township has added speakers, but we still don't hear very good there. So my hope is that if you end up getting personal computers, is that you would at least use the Zoom for your audio. Then we could hear really good. So thank you.
You have to mute yourself.
Anyone else? All right, seeing no other takers, we'll move on to correspondence.
Yeah, I have supplied the council with correspondence from Mr. Thomas regarding the light on Smith Street. And it's two-sided, so his recommendations are on the back.
We did discuss that in infrastructure.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's it? Okay, next agenda item is, as mentioned, the moved up 9C, the sheriff. This is a discussion item, and we have a lot here. And we have the resolution that was provided in the packets. And
Just so the council knows, the resolution is the same one that was adopted, Mr. Lack, do you know, was it 2018?
It's every 5 years.
That would make sense. So I just drafted it based off of that per Mr. Kiesel's recommendation.
And it sounded like this was so that grant money could be applied for?
It's a requirement of the 416 grant from the state of Michigan for our secondary roads car that we have support from the villages and the townships for that grant. It doesn't cost the village or townships any money. It's 60% funded by the state, 40 from the county. But the state wants support from the other groups, the townships and the villages to move forward every 5 years.
Okay.
So how long have we been doing this then? Oh, I guess we can discuss. Can we discuss? Yes.
Yeah,
So how long have we been doing this?
Do you want a motion before we discuss?
Yeah, we
I don't,
should. Let's-
I really, we can have a discussion item without a motion. We
Okay.
can discuss.
Okay. So make sure.
I really don't want a motion.
So how many 5-year periods have we signed on to for this?
It's been a lot longer than I've been here. I'm not totally sure. It's been a long time. That position's been here for several years.
So it's a tradition, it's routine, and
Well,
I don't see any issue with it.
Well,
it was Mark Stevens, and it was before we moved to the new fire hall, so it was in the late 90s.
That this has been.
That we had a community officer.
Well, this isn't
Yeah,
this isn't my position. This is the secondary roads car for the whole county. It's a spot that where a deputy essentially handles traffic and crashes on the secondary roads primarily throughout the county. It's not my position here in the township. It's something totally different. It's state, like I said, it's a grant from the state for that spot that is, like I said, picked up mostly from the state, and the county picks up the rest of the cost of it.
So this would be like secondary roads, like our roads or township roads,
Like
not
county
main
roads.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And has every other government signed on to this, village council?
I only can speak on this township. I was at that township meeting last month where I spoke on the same thing, and yes, that went through over there.
Okay, so I'd like to hear concerns.
my concern is that when we had some issues a year and a half ago with enforcement of local village ordinances, I had several email correspondences with both the sheriff and prosecutor's office regarding that subject. And I would like the council to read these emails before they decide. I would like to make this kind of a sticking point because they want the grant money, but they are not going to enforce our ordinances. And that's what they said. The prosecutor and the sheriff said, we're under no obligation to enforce any village ordinances, even though they specify shall be enforced by the sheriff. And I think that's a bad opinion. I was like, well, what are we paying the $120,000 from the township to have a deputy here if you're not going to enforce our ordinances? They flat out refused to enforce the ordinance about no fishing in the marina, which I think is wrong. And they basically won't enforce anything else in terms of our no parking trailers overnight ordinances, anything. Basically, the prosecutor's office sent me an email saying, we're not going to enforce any of your village ordinances. And so I don't think we should vote for this. And I think for sure we should wait a month and have you guys read all this correspondence and make your own opinions, because I was pretty outraged by it. And I've been waiting for an opportunity to bring it up, and this is the opportunity. Because they want the money. There's no doubt about it. They want the grant money. If they want the grant money, I want an agreement with them that they're going to do their jobs and enforce our ordinances.
But with the secondary road patrol.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yes, it does, but are you sure our ordinances are enforceable?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, we can get Mr. Dyer involved in this, and I plan to, but I really do not want to vote on this tonight until our new village manager, who is an attorney with experience in this, has a chance to look at it and advise us on it. And I would like the rest of the council to read these emails from our sheriff and prosecutor's office.
You'll willingly
I will
provide those?
definitely provide them to everybody.
Deputy Loud, when does this have to be done by?
I do not know the answer to that.
Well, I would like to send a message that, we're not just gonna rubber stamp everything if they're not gonna do what they're supposed to do.
Is this something that the secondary road patrol should have done, or the community officer?
That would have been more on, that's my job, that's not the secondary road position's function.
You mean enforcing ordinances?
So I am the township deputy here, and this spot is something different than that. It's involving traffic and traffic crashes specifically.
So this has nothing to do with village ordinances, this secondary road patrol?
Their function is not to go to calls for service, their function is to deal with traffic and traffic crashes.
I would also like to call point of order that we have rules of procedure that say unless time is of the essence, we do not vote on action items the first time they're presented to the council.
Well, that's true.
There's absolutely no reason to do that in this case tonight.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm okay with delaying a month as long as that doesn't screw you guys up somehow.
He's not saying it does, so.
Yeah, okay.
Joni?
Oh, I just want to make it clear that in our rules of procedure is for policies and ordinances.
I think it's for any action item, but I would have to review. I mean, I think we might need to review that before we decide as well.
That's fine.
Because
Yeah, I think that you're right. That was things are supposed to be discussed once, then voted on, unless it was of urgency. Okay, so anything else on this? That this
That's
is
all I
just
have.
Okay, all right. Well,
To me, it's two completely different issues. And approving a resolution that funds a second position might actually free up Officer Lott's time to work within the village, because there would be another person available to respond to crashes.
But isn't there already somebody in place for that? That's what we're saying, right? This has been in place before, and we're just doing it because it's been 5 years.
this is just a renewal, and there's
So that
no,
would mean the position already has existed, correct?
Yes, it exists now,
Yeah.
yes.
and he's not saying there's gonna be any change or disruption in service if we wait a month. And I mean, if that was the case, he should have come ready to say that on the record, and we're not seeing any of that.
any other discussion?
Guess not.
Okay, well, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
We'll move on to our staff reports, potential action. First up is the clerk.
You have my report, and you have the financial report that were provided on behalf of the treasurer and myself. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding them.
I guess my main question about the sheet that starts budget amendments is, do we have to vote on all of the
No.
budget amendments?
Ultimately, the finance committee will make a formal
Okay.
recommendation, and Joni will bring a series of amendments.
I got it. Good, thank
But
you.
she's been keeping us, this was kind of
appraised,
at
yeah.
the request of the finance committee to keep people aware of where we're over budget and are going to have to make amendments.
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple questions. On the cash transaction report, that's part of your report, right? Yeah. Under the capital improvement fund, it says the cash in bank was negative, and then there was the certificate of deposit. Was that from general fund, or is it something else that was deposited? The 58,000?
No, those are certificates of deposit. So there's one that will be renewed here in this
Okay.
month of September, and we will cash it to make that account whole. So we're not.
That's what I just was,
so we're
because
not
obviously we
offsetting
don't
the
want it,
certificate
yeah.
of deposit.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
okay.
don't want to continue on that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
obviously.
I just didn't want to get penalty at this point.
Right.
We will.
Yeah. Then on the bill sheet, the Elmer's crane and dozer for the paving near the school was 3,200, so did we save money?
Yes.
Okay, cool, that's fantastic.
Because what did it say, 39?
Yeah, it was up to 39 is what we had expected it to be. And then on the consumer's energy, on the electric report, it's a public comment that we've had at infrastructure a bunch of times asking how much does our lighting of the streets cost, how much does lighting the marina cost, things like that. I just wondered, when we get the electric bill, is there any way to break it down to see that, or it's all just?
Yeah, we get multiple consumers' energy bills here at the Village of Northport. And the way that you see that would be in our, when we meet with the Finance Committee, our revenue expenditure report that I hand out itemizes the department for specifically streetlights.
Okay.
Now, Marina is different, and they do have their own, meter. I do not know if they're, I'm sure that some of their lighting is included on theirs. So when we meet with finance, and I'll give you another updated report, I'll capture that.
Yeah, that's awesome, because one of the things in particular is that they were concerned that the lighting on the new walkways, the sidewalks, like how much is that costing us, because how much are they going to be used when it's not summer, and they'll still, I assume, be turned on. And so I just didn't, but to me, I wasn't sure that that even is something that's separate, that you can see how much that costs separately. But anyway, I'll talk to you later about it. I just didn't know, so.
I don't think there's any way they can isolate that.
Yeah, I figured they probably couldn't. I mean, I mean, just.
And we have meters at the different buildings, but.
Yeah. That was my questions. Thank you.
Anything else for the clerk? Okay. The treasurer, deputy clerk report.
Okay, you have my report there. I'm winding up tax collection. I still do not have my largest mortgage holder that holds taxes. They took place on right at the end. And to date, I've collected, this number represents 287 properties. So a little over 2/3 collected. Any questions?
So, just curious, the Marina Fund, it says the revenue is almost $401,000. Is that just for the last month, or is that for?
We got reimbursed for the.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So there's a big
recall
check
now.
in there.
Thank you.
Don't expect a quarter million.
That's a lot of big.
A lot of gas sales this year. Okay, anything else for Cindy? Okay, moving on, DPW.
Yes, if everybody has a report in the packet. Any questions on that?
Did we have any cost estimate on the parts for the well system?
There's been a couple bandied about, I would safely say less than 4,000.
Okay.
And something that as I walked in, I apologize for being late, Mr. Delzo was talking about the PA system. And Chet has been on me about that. Unfortunately, we've got a good audio engineer on board with Kent, but he had to dodge out early today. He had the paper, some preliminary paperwork, some ideas, but he had a doctor's appointment, and we just got him caught up today. So we'll have some numbers for you and some options. Again, I don't know what they do different at the township. It seems that everybody can hear pretty well. So back and forth. I don't know what we're doing different, but he's got a few upgrades and options, and we'll go with that.
Yeah, they have 3 speakers, and they have 2 of them, one at each end of the table, so that the audience can speak into it. So
Wonder how far, we got 2, can we spread those out?
But only
They're
one
both
is
working.
Only one
Tyranny.
naively,
Okay.
Joe and I spent quite a bit of time trying to get 2 of them working. We actually have 3 of them, thinking we could spread them out.
Yeah,
But the
one of
system we
simple
have,
things.
only one is active.
Mics, right? 3 mics spread out, just not.
Chris, just on a side note, you weren't here when Mr. Woodruff made comments about how nice the sign looks, so
Oh my God, it's
Well,
incredible how
That's
great it
Tom.
looks.
There's the man right there.
Oh, yeah.
But he was commenting on how you guys put it up and
How
how
you
great it was,
prepared it,
so.
that rock,
Very good.
it's beautiful.
That's rock,
Yeah.
literally big rocks.
Big rock. So thank you, guys. Lots to go.
Just a question about yesterday. I drove around a little bit, but it was later in the day during most amount of rain I've seen in the shortest amount of time in a long time. How did the Mill Pond Dam do? How did Rose Street Culvert do?
Rose Street culvert was,
That's not at the top.
Yeah.
close to capacity. The dam did all right. We
Good.
monitored that, and we've got enough flow over it that it didn't overtop. And that's another discussion, but
Yeah.
did all right. Hazrot Beach took a beating.
Yikes.
Once again, I don't have the drain in there. Whether, everybody has different accounts of how much rain, but we were seeing 4.7.
4.6.
So,
And where's that gauge?
back where, then I compared it with our one at our house, which had 5.
Wow.
So we're in that 4-inch range. And as it states in my report, that there's more to be done with the marina drainage system there. It does dissipate now. It's hard to, this is overwhelming yesterday, obviously, but there's some things to be ironed out coming up next week with the contractor and the engineer. We kept them abreast, set up the videos. Just, we think it should kind of displace that water a little quicker, but we'll see. So, any questions?
I have a question about your conversations with Eagle about the dam and such, and the line DPW will also secure stop logs so they are tamper-proof. Does that mean so they can't be removed, or but in this case, the issue we had a few months ago was that they were removed and then they were put in.
Yes.
So there's nothing to prevent that from.
It's one and the same. We've secured, I won't say too much, but we secured them so they can't be taken out.
It's actually coming up on the agenda.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Hey, question,
Chris.
over here. We'll just go right down the line. Go ahead. Jim.
You want to go into this, be allowed to refurbish the range lights on the storm tower?
Yes, thank you. As it said in there, in the report, that, Joe, we have the storm tower, the weather tower in Hazard Park, and it's one of the, I understand, one of the last or few left in Michigan.
There's like 9 left in the country.
Is there? Yeah. So it's extra special. So anyways, a few years ago, it was brought to our attention, and growing up here, you remember those lights being activated. They've been deactivated years back. We thought it'd be kind of neat to reactivate it. And Fred Steffens, Mr. Steffens did inquire with the Coast Guard, U.S. Coast Guard, St. Ignace, and they said that would be fine. If we could get them back online, that tower is still part of the navigational maps. And if we did activate the lights, to let them know, and that they would be noted and charted. They are in great shape for as old as they are, really, aside from the wiring. So I guess our request would be to rewire them. We do have an electrician on board. That cost would be much. Our biggest cost would be to have a man lift, a man basket to get us up there. We'd have to rent that. So a couple days worth of that, at roughly $350 a day, I believe. That'd be our biggest cost. We've got a lot of in-house materials. So that would, again, it would be just kind of a neat feature, since we're really leaning back to some of our nautical and historic roots. It would be a neat asset.
Would the lights, as I understood reading about the history of them, there's like a red and a green one, and they indicate different.
Red, white, red.
Okay.
Yep.
So would they be maintained as the weather?
They would have 3 separate switches, and I know somebody who would just be pretty happy to
Flip that switch?
flip the switch. And they used to go with the flags, again, do you remember
Yeah.
that? Where they indicate, gale warning, small craft warning, whatnot, red flags. So it'd be somewhere along that line.
So
We can check out the details with the Coast Guard. Could they be illuminated all the time, not to be used as really a true navigation
That was
aid?
my question. People
So,
were like,
yeah, I think we could. They make a great range light. That's what really they were intended for, as you come around the point. there's Northport. So, you know, as far as cost-wise, I really think we could do this pretty inexpensively, but it's up to you folks to do.
Well, let me try to clarify. So there's somebody, everybody laughed as if they knew who it was, but I don't, who would switch the lights given the weather.
Yeah, I think Mr. Stephens or, you know, one of the DPW we can do
Okay.
also. We
So
can
are you
maintain-
saying that you think you could maintain it 24/7?
No.
Well, no 24/7, but
On a daily basis.
daily basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Evening,
Fred would
you
do
know,
it.
Yeah.
Wow, how cool is that?
So-
Well, I love this idea. I mean, it sounds like less than 1,000 or a little more than 1,000.
What do you need from us?
Laura wants to say something.
I have a question. I was just wondering, the general fund, would that be where it would come from, Joni? I mean, isn't there equipment rental that's already there budgeted?
That's parks, and equipment rental, probably not in parks.
Okay. I just wondered, because I know that it's in a bunch of the categories, because then it would already be there and it wouldn't be extra, but okay.
Do you think you could get a ballpark range to the finance committee by next Wednesday?
Yes.
So that we could consider and see where we might have funds this year or whether we need to defer for a year?
Just, I'm comfortable saying we kicked it around, we're looking at probably $1,200 to $1,400. And again, it's, we have all of the wire we run, and biggest cost would be that rental, and I'll check on it, so I'll get a price for sure.
I love this idea. Thank you.
Anything else for Chris? Yeah.
Yeah, I just wondered, since we have dark sky, that doesn't interfere with it.
Really shouldn't, they're shielded on the top, they're an outward projection bar, so, and they're not gonna be bright, they're, it's not a Fresnel lens, but it's a lens that is direct, it's a direction.
The red and the green would not be problematic under dark sky guidance, and they also exclude navigational towers or other lights that are used for safety. So, but there will be some people.
He was hedging on whether it was navigational.
Yeah.
And I want to be clear,
I think absolutely.
Well,
yeah.
just
I want to
even,
be clear too, these do not flash, they're constant on.
even navigational, even if it's just, they're lit so that people can find the entrance to the bay. I think would probably qualify, but I think that since Leland on Dark Sky has a meeting on Monday, that it's something that we can bring up and make sure that if there are any other requirements to keep us, we don't have the ordinance adopted yet on dark sky lighting, but we did pass a resolution in support, and I think it would be worthwhile to make sure that we can find something that's compliant with the proposed zoning ordinance language as well. Good point.
Anything else for Chris?
Well, Chris, you forgot one major issue. Yesterday was a significant amount of rain, but also significant for another reason. Mr. Holden turned 60.
Oh.
Thanks,
Happy birthday, old man.
Yes.
We got him very scared. We got him, we caught him off guard, let's just say that.
Okay.
Yes, you did.
And no cake.
Oh, pie, but he didn't want to share with council members. So he took it on. So, you know, the rain was coming pretty hard. I called Chris and told him that Robin Schmidt was in the office waiting to inspect the basement. He rushed over, we had to think of some reason to get him here. And then Joni, tell what you did.
Oh, I told him, he came in and Chet was trying to get the candles lit. He's like, I just need a second. So Chris, I said, no worries, I got this. Chris comes in the door. I said, did you see her? And he said, where? I said, she's walking in the creek. And
She's done that before.
she has. And Chet said, oh, where'd you come up with that? I said, she has done this.
Happy birthday, Chris.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
It's
He
good
is
to
hard
catch,
stopped.
it's good to catch him off guard, so. And he called me a couple of technical names, I won't repeat.
He is pretty good at payback, so.
Yeah.
No problem, you have to sleep sometime.
All right, Marina, Bill, I see you're on there.
Good evening. Let me say that I suppose that most of you are probably lamenting the 30-degree drop in temperature of the past day or so. But at the marina, we're just kind of saying, Yahoo, end of summer, bring on fall, because it's been a long summer, successful. We continue to learn, but we had a really good summer. Before I mention my report, Laura, you raised a couple of good questions about the bollards in the park, the new park, those new bollards. Couple of points. I believe those are LED lights, the lighting in those bollards. The energy draw on those is going to be, nil for that would be one point. And the other, and I don't know this for certain, Chris might know, but we could investigate. I believe those lights are on the same timer that the other lights are in the marina. I believe it's on the same sort of timer circuit. So they would go off and on as those lights went off and on also. So
Great.
you have my report in front of you. I don't have much to add other than we had a really successful summer. We're down a little bit over last year, but up over the prior year. I continue to get compliments on on our dock hands and on my staff daily. Got a really good crew that are all mostly back to school now, and I'm kind of flying solo 3 or 4 days a week. But things are slowing down. Wrapping up some projects. Jim Firestone is doing some painting and kind of sprucing things up around the marina. But I think we look really good. But if anybody has any questions or comments, I'm happy to answer them.
What's your first vacation?
My first vacation is going camping for a good part of November along the Gulf Coast. Hopefully there'll be no hurricanes.
Good, have a good time.
Looking forward to it.
Any other questions for Bill?
I do have one more question. The bathrooms at South Beach, do you know what time those are closing now?
I do not. Chris and DPW have been sort of in charge of adjusting the timers on that. They used to be on 11 o'clock, Chris, I believe.
Correct, and thanks for bringing that up, because we'll get those
Good
tomorrow.
question.
So we can cut it back to 9.
Okay.
Yep.
I just curious, because like on our movie nights and stuff, sometimes people ask, and I'm like, maybe they're open, maybe, I'm not sure. Just because I don't know what the timer is, so. Great. Thanks.
Okay, zoning administrator?
You have my report. You'll receive one more report from me for the month of I was gonna say December. It's September, yes, next month. And your new zoning administrator, I've been keeping in contact with and CCing them on all my correspondence and work that I've been doing.
I have a question.
Yes.
On the violation at 108 Wakazoo, could you give us a little more of the rundown, the story on that? What 108 is?
There was no permit pulled for signs, and they do not meet our
Is this fingers crossed?
ordinance. Yes.
Okay.
Is it what, say that again?
Fingers crossed, neon.
No permit pulled for signs, you mean the sign that kind of small sign?
Any of the signs.
Any of the signs,
Mhm.
okay,
But it would be one permit.
Okay. okay.
Has the owner requested any action other, is he gonna comply, or has he requested a hearing, or?
No, I have not heard, so
Okay.
stay tuned.
Cool, thank you. I did want to make a note, since it's on your report, and this isn't really a question for Joni, but I am the ZBA chairperson. It's become, I was surprised, but it's become apparent that, or I'm gonna measure it for sure tomorrow, but my residence is within 300 feet. This is regarding the interpretation / variance request for 215 North Street, or North Mill Street, which is September 13th. I am going to open that meeting and then request that the board vote to recuse me, allow myself to recuse myself, and then I will be requesting them to appoint Chris McCann as vice chair in that situation to run that meeting. And I will be commenting as a private citizen. So I do not plan on taking part in that hearing, just letting everybody know ahead of time.
And if I may, I will have the packet for the public hearing. I have it all set to go. I'm just waiting for some final comments, and I will put them in your boxes for tomorrow. So,
Okay.
and I can email it too. So.
Okay.
I just have a quick question. It's the same one as always, but there's nothing on the hospital or on Third and Rose, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
If she put on the hospital, it would be in bold print.
Oh, I know, but I still
Northport.
just want to be sure, because I feel like if there's something we can be doing to help, I'd like to be sure we're doing that, you know,
We're
so.
waiting for a report from Trudy about what Trudy was going to advise on.
In July, or the end of June, July, I did have a meeting with Trudy Gallup where she informed me that they had applied for a blight grant and it looked quite promising.
Okay.
There were no details on when that would be.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they did get the grant.
Yeah.
What made you think that?
I think I saw an email about that.
Oh, great, that's great.
If not,
When I spoke to Trudy, and it was before she's talked to Joni a couple months ago, she indicated that the village had declared it a blighted site before, and we didn't need to pass another resolution, and that they could proceed. And so if you have heard somewhat informally, I would concur that the timing is right.
We can check on that.
Mhm.
We did submit a letter on behalf of Chris.
Yeah, we
supporting
had
the
to,
project, so you probably were on the
Mhm.
email distribution list then.
Yeah.
So, but we can confirm that.
I can put it in my September report in bold.
I can ask Kyle.
That too.
okay. Anything else for zoning? All right, we'll move on to interim village manager.
All right, I'll try to keep it under 2 hours.
Lions kick off.
I know.
The Lions.
Okay.
8:20.
All right, and I'll share, these are mostly just the transition. I've been in contact with Mr. Diane on a pretty regular basis. I'm copying him on all significant emails. I talked to him this morning at length. He was really hoping to be here today, but his Calhoun County Board of Commissioners had a meeting this evening at 7 o'clock, which is exactly the same time as this meeting. So he apologized for that, for not participating in person. His original goal is to participate in person, he would be here. But said, I've been in contact with him on a very regular basis. He knows what the issues are, with the upcoming goals and so forth are. And he is really looking forward, and he will be here October 1st for sure. He has purchased a house. He's in the process of closing it, so it's not official yet, but it's very promising. And I actually had a nice visit with his wife, and she's very excited about being here, which is helpful, obviously. The spouse is excited about that. And so he's looking forward to coming here, and so we've been chatting on a regular basis. And I told him that he's certainly welcome to at any time once he comes on board here and everything, but I think it'll be a smooth and easy transition.
Chet, didn't you say initially he was a little hesitant, but now he's really excited about it?
Well, I'll use his own words, that he can make the emotional adjustment.
Yeah.
Because he was at one job, you all stereotype, but he is an attorney, and attorneys think in a certain way. And so he had to get over that issue and the fact that he found a house that his wife likes, and everyone is congratulating him, and people are happy for him in his old job. And so he seems very generally excited about coming up here. And he wants to get involved with the community. He participated in the Law Leadership Zoom meeting yesterday. And I've also had him, I introduced him to numerous people. Chris and I met with him for
An hour.
hour. It was very good, very productive. And he was here for most of the day here. He met with me, met with Jody and over zoning issues. So there should be no surprises for him. And I keep him updated on a pretty regular
I think
basis.
his comments during the leadership team meeting, he was very positive about looking forward
Yeah.
to being here, so.
And is it true that we lose you on the 15th?
On the 14th officially, because on the 15th, I'll be on a plane to Seattle for 2
Okay,
weeks.
so during those last 2 weeks of September, he will be the go-to.
We talk about, you still can call me, and I won't be physically here, but you can call me, and even after that, I told Jim anytime he needs to call me. I won't be charging you for anything after the 14th, including the retreat that's coming up here.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
generous.
and I'm willing to, you know, whatever needs to be done. You know. So both Jim and I are in contact, and we'll try to deal with any issues that come up between the two of us.
Well, just to be official about it, I think we all agree that you've been a tremendous help to us, and it's been an honor to work with you and take your advice.
Well, I can be honest, I mean, I told Jim, I believe that you have a very strong council here. You all are very dedicated. I'm impressed with the commitment to committee meetings, how many meetings you have. Hopefully those will maybe reduce a little bit with the full-time administrator. But I told Jim, he's not walking into any surprises. You know, I think we're on top of all of the issues. You have some major challenges coming up, which you know about. But in terms of any bombs we've dropped anywhere, any surprises, I told him he would not be surprised or anything. And I told him he will enjoy working with all 7 of them, just like I have. So he's looking forward, and it's been a great experience. I'm looking forward to the retreat with you. I think it'll be a very smooth transition. Unfortunately, we don't have any applicants for administrative assistant, so.
It's been strongly suggested to me that we raise the salary level to try to attract somebody. It was pointed out there are dishwashers in this town making $23 an hour, and we're trying to start this at 16. So it's going to be hard to get somebody.
Yeah, I think that was discussed, and unfortunately, the employee relations committee meeting for August canceled due to commitments, but that'd be a good topic for discussion. See, I thought it was a great idea that somebody had about getting the word out to parents of kids in their employees.
Did that happen? Was anything posted in the school?
I think this is just the first week of school, so I'm not sure if they have.
We haven't had a newsletter yet, I mean, because it's the first week, so.
Okay.
Maybe you could follow up and see if you get something in the newsletter, because that'd be an ideal situation. Karen?
I can ask
It is still-
Elizabeth too if you want me to.
If I may, it is still on the website, and I cleared out the date because originally we were looking for applicants to respond. So I took that out.
Good, thank you.
If you Google Northport Village Council, comes up as the first thing you see.
Well, maybe we should wait on the school newsletter until we possibly raise the pay of the employee meeting attendees.
Yeah, the other question I had was Joni's report on budget amendments that needed. They mentioned that there were benefits to this position, and I thought there weren't.
I think the benefits were some holidays.
Some holidays.
And vacation.
But no other,
No health.
no other benefit
Yeah,
package.
that's the other obvious
Yeah,
thing to sweeten the.
right.
All right, so I think they'll be on the agenda for the employee relations committee. Budget year ordinance, as you know, we talked about this. All of you seem to be encouraged switching budget year to July 1. We have the legal resolution. The challenge we're dealing with, not challenge, but it just takes time, is the technical process to switch the budget. Joni and I have been in contact with Mary Krantz, and she sent an email just, I believe, yesterday, that's in your package. Just, you want to just review that briefly, and I can talk about the stuff on the state.
Well, I really haven't had a chance to go through her email. It did come through this morning, but she is waiting for information from Department of Treasury still, and she knows how they're short-staffed as well. But she does know some of the budget amendments that we would have to make and procedures just for different funds, which will be helpful for Finance Committee to review. But it's primarily budget amendments is what she's giving us the steps for.
First reading, and we'll have a chance to study it and
Oh,
talk it over. Finance committee is next week, and you're still here until the 14th. But it looks like we may have to adopt a budget on March 1 for 4 months.
It may,
Yeah.
have to be.
From our conversations
Mhm.
that we had, yeah.
We also followed up, I had a former colleague that's a CPA that works with the state. And Jordan and I talked to him yesterday at one, he gave some good advice. We also contacted Kerry Vaughn from the state of Michigan Department of Treasury. I followed an email to him. And he's usually good, I've dealt with him before, he's usually good at following up with phone calls and emails. We're asking for guidance, the technical part. The legal part is the easy part, the resolution. It's the technical part to make sure we're in full compliance. And so that email's been sent to the Department of Treasury, and I left a voice message for Mr. Vaughn also. And so hopefully, I know him, I know he will respond back to that. So we're working on it, just want you to know that this has been a priority for us, we've been talking about it, we just want sure we do it right.
Yeah, preliminary conversations were that we'd be looking at 2 audits in the year. Well, the good news is that we will have an audit on 2022, that's a full, and so that's anticipated. And then it sounds like we will then do 1 more audit on the 4 months, and that's submitted to the state, and then that starts your calendar year. So that was just some preliminary discussions that we've had.
So.
They called it a stub audit, sorry.
Mary Francis followed up the state also, so between Mary and my phone call and email, I'm sure we'll get a response. Better idea of the technical parts of how we transfer the budget. And the toughest part is just making that transition. Once you do it, there's a lot of benefits, I think, to switching to July 1. And it's interesting because the 2 CPAs we talked to, neither of them knew why we had a March 1st year. This is their expertise. But I told them about the 1895 state ruling, so I'm sure we'll get through it. On the iPads and tablets last month, you asked me to check about government rates. So I checked with Apple. It's a whopping $30 savings there's some significant savings for school districts, but not for you. There actually is an Apple government website for that one. And so I just made a copy of this. I suggest you wait till Mr. Dyer gets here and see what his thoughts are before you make that decision. It's not time sensitive. But just to keep the discussion going, I made copies for all of you of the original quote that I received from Apple and then versus the latest quote, but it's only $30.
$30 per iPad?
Yeah. And so you can discuss that with Mr. Dyer.
And 3 figures.
There is now a Village of Northport YouTube channel. And I understand, Chris, you are now a YouTube sensation. People have mentioned that to you, right?
Yeah, people that only know me from one place.
Now know you as a Village. So people are watching it. We have posted. We're assuming if I want to have a discussion, you want to post all meetings, including committee meetings?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Are we on now?
We're not broadcasting live, that's one discussion I want to have. If you, you're doing the Zoom, which works fine, but there is a potential of being hacked, and other units of government have been hacked. I don't think you've had problems.
Township has plenty of times,
Zoom?
lots of
Yeah.
times.
The county
It's been really
stopped doing
fun.
it because we were getting hacked on a pretty regular basis.
You mean hacked when you were on YouTube Live?
Live, yeah.
No.
No,
On
on Zoom
Zoom.
Live, I'm
On
sorry.
Zoom Live, okay.
Zoom Live, with some very curse, profanity, and everything else. All of a sudden, just popping up. You've been fortunate, but some of you may want to think about whether you want to continue broadcasting on Zoom. The nice thing about Zoom, people can participate, and you do give them the option to make public comments on Zoom. At the county, we stopped doing that because we were hacked quite a few times. The county does broadcast live on YouTube. You can do, however, then the people cannot participate. So something to think about.
I think one of the differences too, like, I don't think the township, when you try to log in, I don't think there's a waiting room. Like, you just get into the meeting. And so what happens a bunch of times when I've been there is that just they flood, like hundreds of people flood in all at the exact same time code that wherever it was posted to flood this Zoom, and then they're all doing whatever they're doing in their Zoom links, or in their windows. But I think because we do that, I'm not saying that you can't hack us, but I do think that because we make it so that you
Yes.
have to get in the waiting room first, that is
Yes.
somewhat of a
Yes.
stopgap, which
That's
still
true.
then allows public comment.
Yeah, I did ask that question because I did know Chet set me up with some training with Laurel, that's at the county.
With my former assistant.
And she said, no, you are putting yourself at risk by putting by putting our, all of our information out there.
Yeah.
But, however, it's not.
Yeah.
The township.
I enjoy the back and forth potential.
Doesn't it?
And I think people should be able to comment from Zoom land, and that's really important.
So we just download it and
You know, the flip side is you are allowing people to watch it live through Zoom. So people can watch it. It's not quite as easy just going on YouTube and watching, but for people that missed the meeting, you can probably load the video from today's meeting tomorrow morning, probably. So people do have the opportunity to watch the meetings at any time at their leisure. And they do have the ability to just scroll through. If they watch a whole meeting, they'll copy the agenda, they know what it is, and they can just watch that portion.
I think the advantage, we could continue to use Zoom for the live meeting, but then we don't have to save and take up the cloud storage
Well,
with Zoom,
yes.
if we
That's-
archive everything on YouTube.
Just informally, I've got some very positive comments from people that appreciate us having the meetings, that they watch at their leisure. And it's pretty easy, just go to the YouTube channel, type in Village of Northport, and it comes up. And you will get probably you will, because I think you set up the channel, you'll get a monthly report, how many people watch it, and how many minutes are spent watching it, so you do get some data from it. And which meetings are most popular. They issue a full report, I don't know if it's monthly or quarterly, but you will get that, which is interesting data.
Well, thank you for getting that done so quickly.
Okay. Retreat, actually talked about this, I think in April when I came to you at first. I think it's critical when you bring in a new leader that you have the opportunity to express your views and opinions on the style you like. And this also for him now, we know it's Mr. Dyer, the opportunity to express how he would like to manage the dialogue. And also I have a presentation I've done with numerous governments, units of government, about board governance and why certain boards work well and others don't. So both Mr. Dyer and I, and we met with Chris about this, and Chris has graciously offered our clubhouse to do it. It's a public meeting, it has to be posted open to the public, but I think a more informal dialogue setting. And we're approaching either October 8th or 9th. From the feedback that some of you sent me, looks like the afternoon is better than the morning for most of you.
Yeah, Barb let me know that she's actually gonna be out of town.
Yeah, I saw that, so I don't know if you want to wait.
Can we kick it back later?
It's up to you.
Week? You said you're gonna be back on the 15th, what's that, like a Monday, or?
That's the following week.
So we could do it maybe later in that week, so you have
We could.
some time to settle in, if that's okay, or
Pick a date and
could you like that Thursday? Is there anything going on that Thursday?
What would the
Committee
date be
meetings?
then?
We'd have, well, committee meetings.
we just picked October 8th or 9th because it's the second full week, so that's why we picked that day. But it is critical that all of you participate.
That's what I was
Because
thinking.
each of you need to hear your other thoughts.
What are
also.
the days of the week of the 8th and 9th? I don't have mine.
Those are Mondays and Tuesdays, so. the
Sunday and
following-
Monday.
Sunday and
Nice
Monday.
and
Sunday and a Monday.
Oh, then
Oh,
it
so it's
must
the
be
9th and 10th.
9th and 10th, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You definitely
16th
don't
and
want to do something.
17th.
I can't do the following Monday, I'm out of town.
How about the 17th?
Well,
You're
you're back on the 15th, right?
Are you still-
17th is a Wednesday?
Tuesday.
Are you still up?
No, I'm back by then.
Are we saying morning or afternoon?
Afternoon.
From the feedback that most of you gave me, you prefer the afternoon.
You can't make afternoons, all right?
Right, I mean, I'd have to, yeah,
So. could-
really any afternoon.
Could we do early, mid-morning? What time would it need to be for you, 10 o'clock?
If we can, or if it's on a Thursday and a Friday, it could be, I'm a lot more open.
What about the 19th?
That's a Thursday.
Uh-huh.
Any committee meetings or anything that day we can think of right now that would interfere?
Waterfront is that day, but it's only,
At 1 p.m. We could always postpone it or change it.
I won't be here, but.
Huh?
I said, I won't be here, but the show can continue on. We'll just, somebody has to hit record.
We got it.
Okay.
So, is there a date that,
Sounds like the 19th is working. Earlier in the morning,
10 a.m.
or afternoon, we're saying.
It could be either for me on that.
So 1 o'clock on the 19th, does that work for everybody at now? Right now?
Did they say that's waterfront?
Oh, shoot.
Yeah,
I'll just change the date of the waterfront.
or back it up and I'll go.
Hard to back it up.
I mean, come
Well, I just-
October,
No, I just meant
Bill's gonna be gone
earlier.
anyway, so
earlier in the day, maybe.
you're getting pretty clumsy. aren't you? All right, yeah, you know. Yeah, we'll figure out something.
Okay.
so October 19th at 1 p.m.?
Yep. Up at the clubhouse.
Yeah. And thank you for offering them.
It's our building.
Yeah, that's a nice place to have it, I think. And then we post it in the open public, but it'll be more informal dialogue. All right. Joan, you want to talk about the laptop for the manager, since you talked to Mr. Dyer about that?
Oh, yeah, we need to order another computer for our, the finance committee spoke about ordering another computer for the office administrative assistant. Mr. Dyer, when I spoke to him, said that he would prefer to have a laptop that he is village owned, obviously, and that he can just, sync with the monitors when he comes in. And so we could take that computer that's there and move it for the office assistant. And I asked him what kind of computer he's been working with, and he said a Dell. I went and looked at the Dell computers, and there's a lot of choices. So I don't know if the board would feel comfortable just authorizing up to a certain amount, which I thought anywhere from 1,200 to 1,500 at the most. We will have to get a couple more monitor, or at least one more monitor. And that seemed like a reasonable rate. I think for around $900 we can get a computer, and then we need a monitor, one or two monitors, because he does like to use multiple.
So until we have an office assistant, do we have enough monitors to get him started? And then we can add, although it might make more sense to just order.
Well, you could work with the laptop monitor for a little while.
Yeah, I just thought if we were ordering from Dell, it would just
Yeah,
be
well, that
all.
makes sense.
all
Maybe
one.
let him pick the machine within the budget.
That's what I thought. If the council would like to set a budget for him, then I could just tell him to pick that out. Obviously, it would still be village equipment.
So the budget is gonna be for a laptop and for a monitor. Okay.
So you're saying 12 to 1,500? 1,500?
Do we need to do something about that right now?
If you could,
Yeah.
then I could let him.
I'll make a motion that the council authorizes expenditures up to $1,500 for a laptop and monitor for our incoming village manager.
Second.
All right, moved by Will, supported by Laura to approve up to not to exceed $1,500 for the new village manager for laptop and monitor. Any further discussion? All right, roll call vote starting with Will.
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Hugh, Jane,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
and yes. All right, motion passes.
I'll take that out.
All right, thank you. On the sound system, you basically have heard an update. We are working with the other Mr. Holton. He has been here looking at quotes, and you said that he actually has some.
He has some
Okay.
numbers and options.
So we'll put on next month agenda, and it's right up. We truly try to get the system knowing. Naively, we thought since there's a splicer and 3 speakers, we can hook them up and spread them through the room. But unfortunately, the way the system is, even though there's a splicer and separate speakers, only one speaker works at a single time. You can't activate. And we tried, and then our expert came in and says, well, no, this is a single system thing, so that's why we did it. But Mr. Dalzell is accurate, it is difficult to hear. So I think that'll be a big impact, and it shouldn't be that expensive either. So I'm sure next month we'll have a quote for you. But look at that. Pilot program, we talked about this last month. The village attorney drafted up draft resolution on pilot. And I think all of you know that's things for payment and legal taxes. Because the state law has changed on pilot programs. The units of government now can pass a generic pilot and then customize it for each request. And so the committee felt it was important enough to have a special meeting and have Mr. Hammersley explain the whole process for it and the options available. And last time we talked about last month, we said we'd come and pick a date for a special meeting, so we wanted Mr. Hammersley to know. So I don't know if you want to pick a special meeting now, if you want to send an email, I wish to proceed with that.
No, I think that your request for another copy, I can send out some dates unless everyone.
I think if you can check with Ross and then give
Get some
us
dates
some
from him.
options.
Let's do it that way.
Okay,
For me, it's always gonna be best if it's in the morning.
okay.
But it is important that you focus on the pilot. To have it part of your regular meeting, I don't think would be in the best interest. So, okay, we'll try to work on that. Mill pond update. Actually, I think Chris would agree that we had a very productive dialogue with Robin Schmidt from Eagle last Friday afternoon. She I sent her numerous emails and phone calls, and she responded, and we set up a time. And because we still have those violations are outstanding, and however, and I think I forwarded you a correspondence to receive that she wants to report by the end of this month. And our goal is to have it done by the end of next week, so Mr. Dyer doesn't have to deal with it. Mr. Dyer, I've been keeping him updated on it. But in a short summary, Chris proposed some short-term fixes to the dam and about also how to prevent anyone from taking the boards out. And she verbally agreed with those. And we talked about what we can do long-term in terms of flooding and everything, in terms of emergency situation. And she said, put that in the report. So everything that we talked about, and I kept asking her, does she agree with Chris was telling her? And she said, yes, and put it in the correspondence. So I'm optimistic that if we can get that wrapped up next week, send it to Robin Schmidt, that they can close the files on the 2 violations. They still are outstanding. But I think it's a good news that they have not followed up in April with any fines or any follow-up. And she knows that we're working with her. I've sent her numerous emails. Chris has sent her copies of the reports. We talked to her last month, I think, one day, too. And we talked to her several times. So she knows we're being very sincere in terms of wrapping this up and to avoid any potential problems on the road. So I'm optimistic. I felt pretty confident after last Friday's meeting that we'll be able to resolve these 2 violations going forward.
And when you send the letter to her, you'll send us copies.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
And then is some committee dealing with, is infrastructure dealing with the mill pond?
Yep, we are working on that. Yeah. I have a quick question. So when she gets back to us, then we'll know the result of those violations. But the work, she's agreeing that that sounds like appropriate, but previously she said we needed a permit to do any of that.
Right.
So then, is the permit part of what she's going to approve, or we're gonna have to do that once? I'm just worried about
Yeah.
timing, because Chris is worried
Chris,
about
you wanna-
timing, so.
I would say more than anything, a letter of intent and procedure for her, and then we would go forward from that. And
I
then
just
think
don't want
we
her
would
to clear our violations, and she gave us verbal approval to do the stuff, but then she goes, oh, no, wait, you
No,
didn't
no,
file.
everything that we talked about verbally will be in the correspondence. And
Okay.
she actually requested that and confirmed the fact that what Chris proposed to her is satisfactory.
Okay,
And we all agree that you will put that in the draft. So if I ask Chris to come up with a technical response, I will fine tune it and massage it a little bit to make sure it covers all the points that she's requesting, and then give that to her, hopefully next week.
and then she's saying she's gonna work on that quickly, right, or we don't know?
She gave that impression that.
Yeah, it did sound that way.
I just wanna be sure, because I know you have concerns about timing in
Yeah.
winter and getting
Yep.
that stuff
Yeah.
done soon, so.
And so she knows.
And we talked about that.
Time sensitive on
yeah.
that, so basically we just some procedural things that we're gonna have to do different.
Going forward,
Yeah. We'll talk about
Yep.
the infrastructure.
Did I say anything, Chris? I think we covered.
No, you're doing great.
Okay.
Yeah, again, I echo what you said, is that I think it was a really positive dialogue. But
So once we have the letter completed, I've told Jim Dyer that I would have him look at it also, so I'm sure he was comfortable.
Yeah.
And he appreciate that, so hopefully we can get that out to Ron Schmidt, have his files closed and move on. That's it.
Okay. Thanks for the updates. Excuse me. Okay, committee reports. As noted, employee relations did not meet last month. So no report.
Finance committee did meet last month, the minutes are in the packet. You'll note that there are a few things that we're deferring until Mr. Dyer starts to get input on some of the policy changes that we were proposing. We are trying to arrange at least a Zoom meeting with a potential grant writer to assist staff with searching for and making grant applications. That's in the minutes, but I wanted to point
That's
that
Jennifer Graham is the person that you think
is
could be,
currently working with NLTDA.
right, but she might be interested in working with the entire council and village. Could I be part of that Zoom meeting? Could you invite me to that?
You can attend as a
good.
member of the public,
Okay,
because
just let
then
me-
we have a quorum of the council.
Yeah, let me know when that is, if you would.
Any questions for Jane other than that? What's in her report? Okay, thanks, Jane. Infrastructure?
So my report I got to you guys late, so it'll get into the Dropbox, I'm sure, when they're able to. So, but I'll go through, most of it was in Chris's DPW, but informationally, the November and December meetings, because we moved our meetings to the fourth Friday, those two meetings both fell right by holidays, so we've moved those dates, and Joni, I think, has those. If not, I'll be sure you do, but yes. And so that they can be adjusted on the calendar. Just a follow-up from last month, the slide ends, I think, for South Beach are ordered, but they have not arrived yet because they're being manufactured, I think, is what Chris had said. We had a special meeting on 4th Street drainage issues and the redesign of that plan. We had a number of the citizens that are in that district attend that meeting. We had our engineer, Eric from Preen and Newhoff there. There was definitely, as before, when we've had special meetings like that, there was a lot of back and forth that I think was really productive. People may not be familiar with that, but one of the main issues is that Eagle is considering that a stream, and so therefore that limits almost anything that we could do to help alleviate the issues that everybody is having there. So the discussion, the consensus was that we have two different experts actually, or people that work in researching and discussing with Eagle, disagreements over their designations and issues that municipalities have with Eagle. So they are looking at all of what we have just kind of to give us an opinion. Some of the suggestions and thoughts were potentially to apply for the full project or just the partial project, kind of going back and forth. So we're getting some additional opinions on that before we decide what direction to go next. So we can be sure that we're looking at all sides. The water rates we discussed and are going to have a proposed schedule to review very soon. Mill Pond, Chris was just talking about that. It's the same information there. And just a couple things is that in PC, in Planning Commission, we are working on the master plan and considering sending out a survey. If we do that, we may include questions on Mill Pond, so that's a way, because there's been multiple discussion in infrastructure as to being sure that we're getting public feedback and not just our own opinions on that. So that's something that we're working towards in collaboration with planning. And then we're working on the sidewalk ordinance revisions and should have that ready next meeting for village attorney and council. Sarah, for last month, we also approved the Main and Wakazu water retention plan for that corner there. And Sarah Uren of the Watershed Center has provided a legal agreement between the village, them, and the resident, that it's their property that it's going on to. And that is, I think, to Joni, Chris has it for review by legal counsel before it's signed. So once.
It's a legal contract, and it's felt it should be reviewed, even though there's no cost involved to protect the village.
Well, because there is long-term, because there's some maintenance and the signs are being moved and different things like that, and whose responsibility is what, and that's what it outlines. And it's the same as a proposal and agreement that was done with the village for a different project in the past. So it's probably fine, but
I just got his response.
Oh, did he?
This afternoon.
Oh, perfect.
So,
Yeah, so we can look at that in the future, but yeah. Once, I think we have to all approve to sign that, or we don't, I don't know.
It was approved at the August meeting.
The project was approved, so we don't need to look at and approve the
As long as
agreement.
I will give you what law, I'll forward it.
Anyway, but that was my final, so.
I would say if there's major legal challenges, which I saw the email, I have not read it, then it should go back to council, but if there isn't, then you did approve it.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so I have a question. Last month, there was a report by the engineers on the mill pond options, and what to do with it. And when I read that, I think it might be a good idea to get another opinion on the life that exists in the mill pond. So I wasn't real sure that their conclusions would be, I just felt like we should have another opinion.
And I think that's a valid point. We did discuss in infrastructure, when do we want to review that report? How are we going to, right at that time and still now, we want to be sure that we've cleared the violation. And DPW is kind of on the same board here, is that we want to be sure that we're through the violations and have that cleared, and that information is all set from her, and that the plan moving forward, how are we going to continue to maintain it, which previously has been allowed. I mean, it was happening. There was, and being sure that that is sound, because no matter what's going to happen, it can't happen immediately. So we need to be sure that we're solid where we are before we start worrying about all the details of that. So, I mean, we even discussed maybe a special meeting for that, since there is a lot of public interest, as well as having that survey happen, as well as there is a private entity that is formed with the township for fundraising for maintenance of the pond, and they are very willing to fundraise to continue that based on what numbers are necessary or what direction. But all of those are things that have to be discussed and looked at very closely after people have had time to look at all of that and process it. So.
You're referring to like a second opinion as in to the condition of the dam?
No, I think, if I may, you want a biologist.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Not another engineering study, because we can't.
Yeah, right, that's what I was like, whoa. Yeah, we already spent the money.
Yeah,
No, but you're talking about having someone other than Heather Hedinger or.
Heather's from the state.
Yeah.
nothing that-
Yeah, we do have some data on that.
Yeah.
She's talking about
I
other
just
than
think that,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
wasn't, at least from the report that I read, I wasn't confident that.
I don't think that wasn't their goal, to assess the health of the pond. We
Yeah.
do have past reports on that. And I think Heather had told us that she was going to do something this year, but I think never did it. But I could certainly ask, I've been in contact.
Also, all those reports are posted online and very easily accessible.
Yeah.
You can click on any waterway and see the reports that are active there and the condition. So if that's there, I could check. I mean, I've checked it many times and downloaded all those reports, and I could look again. I have not in the past probably month, but I could definitely look and see if there's a new one.
I was gonna say also that Brett Fessel and Nate Winkler from GTV and,
The Alliance. Alliance.
Alliance also will have some good information on that too.
Yeah, and but I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'll reach out to Heather, since I've been back and forth with her a lot, and ask her if the state plans any analysis in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, I know that when you read all of their reports, they do the E. coli reports regularly. They have a cycle, and I think the last time they did one was 2 years ago. But That's my recollection.
But I'm referring to the fact, does it support fish?
Yeah,
Does it
no, I
support,
understand what you're saying.
You know,
Yeah.
frogs and all that,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah,
not
it's a
just how
separate
much-
thing. It's,
Right.
yeah, it's, you're not talking about what is already happening. You're talking about additional information that would have to
Yeah,
be
I
sought.
think so.
Yeah. Yeah, which I think is a valid thing to look at as well, so that everything's being looked at.
Mhm. Okay. Anything else for Laura on infrastructure? All right, thanks, Laura. Move on to waterfront.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go over the whole report, but I am gonna talk about South Beach and the swim buoys. You'll see a significant improvement next year in the swim buoys, and they will be in a minimum of 5 feet of water versus where they are now. The other thing that came up is Trustee Connolly mentioned about wheelchair access, and Chris mentioned there is a mat, and that mat will be going back in place next year.
Does it go off with a sidewalk that has been breaking up, or is it a different one? Okay,
It's about 45, 50 feet long.
okay.
So it's a spec mold
Yeah,
mat.
yep.
Okay, so that's where it was prior. And so I know we got some sidewalk to move
Yeah, to make it,
more, you know,
Yeah.
we've only lost 40 feet.
Okay, anything else for the waterfront? Okay, Parks and Trails didn't meet last month either, no report. Next on to our planning commission report.
Yeah, Joni distributed minutes from the most recent meeting, which were, after I picked up my packet, but they're in the packet. There were a couple of things that I wanted to highlight. The minutes are not detailed, but there is a full transcription of the meeting proceedings that is attached to the minutes. So individuals can review the abbreviated summary minutes and go to the transcript for detail. And it's some technology that we're trying out with our new secretary, Virginia Foley. And during the meetings, if you haven't been able to attend, she has been sharing her computer screen with the Zoom audience. So as we're talking about ordinances, they can see specifically what we're talking about and the changes we're proposing.
Oh, wow.
And it has made audience participation much more meaningful. So we bring in a couple of that next generation and they start getting all techie on us, but boy, it's been wonderful.
Does she want to be the office assistant?
So I'm happy to answer any questions. Laura mentioned that we're planning a public survey on changes to the master plan. Okay.
Okay. NLTUA, I had a banner month. I didn't make this meeting. Trustee Harper
Oh, I ran the meeting.
ran the meeting for us, so I will defer any NLTUA report.
Didn't know I was supposed to write a report about it.
No, just a verbal.
I totally forgot about it. We had a lot of the discussion about the authority on possible negotiations with the multiple unit development. If there's going to be negotiations, who has the authority to negotiate? And we've got an opinion from Ross Hammersley that says it's basically the village's deal. The village is the one that's going to have the authority to negotiate if negotiations take place at all. Board member Cross took some exception to that, and he really wanted that reviewed by the township attorney, which was going on. I just got an email though at 5:15, which I didn't see till I was already in this meeting, from Mike McMillan saying that board member Cross has resigned. So not sure what's going on there. He was upset about some stuff. I know that there were some emails. Anyway, we are we are going forward on that. We are going forward with the rate study, getting information. That looks like it's going to be very, very valuable on a number of levels, both for grant writing purposes and for figuring out where we are in terms of overall financially, where we need to set rates, where we're looking at. I feel like the NL2A is really on a good track. But this just blindsided me a little bit. So we'll see we'll see how that next meeting goes. We're supposed to have an opinion from the township attorney by September 19th meeting.
Okay.
And
It's the Tulip attorney.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
the Tulip attorney, yes, I misspoke. One other thing that I brought up that I have, and this is kind of important for the public to know, I get this, hang on, I get this wrong sometimes, but here you go. So I have asked the Haymeyers to provide, for their lawyer to provide a restrictive covenant and recapture agreement, and what that is to propose, because I've been talking to an attorney in Chicago who's a sort of a relative of mine, it's an in-law, that does this stuff, and he's like, before you can negotiate with a developer like this, you have to have this document, it's basically a contract that says, these are gonna be the parameters, what defines attainable housing, in terms of people's income levels and things like that, and this is gonna be proposed by them. And what happens if after 3 or 4 years, if they do get a discount, they all of a sudden go full market rate, the recapture agreement would mean they have to pay back all of the money that got discounted. So that's the surety to the municipality that if there is a negotiation, very similar to a pilot program, it's very common. And he says that it's extremely normal for attainable housing developers to negotiate with municipalities, because otherwise it's cost prohibitive. They'll never get built. And we've seen, if you look at the survey that was done by the foundation, this is at the top of everybody's mind, is we need attainable. This is an identified need in the community. 80% of the people responded, so this is one of the biggest problems we have. This is one of the few things as a council or as a sewer board we can do to do something about it, because we can't go out and build apartment buildings, but we can help other people do it by these agreements. But we have to cover our tails.
Sure.
And so I don't want the people, the public, thinking we're going to go just offering deals without legal documents that are going to back everything up and define who is going to qualify for these things. So without that, there isn't going to be any negotiation. So the ball's in their court on that right now. They haven't asked for a negotiation yet. They haven't applied for it. So, cart in front of the horse, we're just getting ready for that. We're expecting that to happen, but it hasn't happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we're on it.
Okay, great. Any questions? Oh, yeah.
If I can just add to the NLTUA report that we are in the process of doing the rate study
Yes.
with Dawn Lund from Utility Financial Solutions. I did meet with her on Friday. I've been sending her all the information that she needed, and she should have everything to date. So she said she was going to wrap it all up. So that's good news. We'll have a report from her. And I did speak to the Tom Greer, the NLTUA attorney, who just asked for a few more documents that the village attorney has, and I'm going to submit those to him, and he will have that opinion for the board.
There is another way, and I should talk about this a little bit, because this may be coming sooner than later. There is another way to go about it, and this is something that Tom Greer made a point of, was that instead of having the lawyers decide who has the authority, we could leave it up to the various boards. We could pass a resolution, and the township could pass a resolution granting the NLTUA the authority to negotiate if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
He's now resigned, so I don't know where that's going. It would save a lot of legal fees.
Sure.
But it might not be what the boards want to do. I don't know if this board, probably, certainly not tonight, ready to talk about it. But if you want to cede that authority to the NLTUA, you can. But you may want, if according to our attorney, we have this board here tonight has the authority, and if you want to keep it, and maybe you want to keep it, so it might not, I don't know, this is something that I haven't really processed, I don't really have a strong opinion on it.
I can give you a brief update that Mr. Harper's correct, because there is, and I'm not an attorney, there is a document that was agreed by the Lebanon County Board of Commissioners, the Village of Northport, and the township when the bonds were passed. And basically, it says that either unit of government may authorize Matula to have that authority. Without that, it's the right of the village and the township. And I believe the draft opinion that Mr. Picknick, or Hammersley did, allow that was based on a document between the county, the village, and township. But by reading that, and Joe and I reviewed it, we're not attorneys, it does say exactly what you're saying, that either government or both may give that authority to the school.
That would facilitate things, but I'm not sure it's in either board's best interest to do that, because the township is underrepresented on the board, on the NLTUA board. And why would this board want to give up an authority that our attorney already says we have? So I don't know if that would fly on either side. So, I mean, hopefully we'll have the other opinion by September 19th, and hopefully, well, I can't, possibly Mr. Greer will agree with Mr. Ross and Mr. Hammersley, and it'll be settled, and then we can move forward. But we're a ways away. We're a ways away. And right now, we're not behind. So Hammers are not waiting for us. They haven't filled out, they haven't applied for we're waiting for their proposal, and they haven't given us one. So we're just trying to get ready because we know it's coming.
Yep.
On the study that's being done, I actually met with Dawn Lund privately before the meeting. I just want to tell you that she was very complimentary towards both Cindy and Joni. There was a lot of effort, a lot of work had to be done, but she's actually ahead of schedule, and she was very complimentary. And she brought it up, I didn't even ask her, that she really appreciated all the work that Cindy and Joni did to get her all the information.
Can I ask what the rate study is? Is it a study of our rates versus other people's rates?
So it's a study of the main operations and maintenance fees that we collect.
Right.
There's a lot more to it than that. When it comes out,
compare ours to others?
It's more than that. It's also looking at our overall financial picture, saying, are our rates adequate to meet our financial obligations, both in terms of the debt and our operations and maintenance budget, which, because we've been running on a very, very tight budget on the NLTUA, like we don't have a lot of contingencies for failures, like none. We need to know going forward what we need to do to keep this as a secure financial institution. One last thing that I forgot to add was that there was some engineering analysis on, the Haymars did provide their engineering flow numbers, their projected flow numbers, and we compared that with, we gave that to, and they said that at full capacity that it would only increase our capacity by 4%. And we have a very large margin on capacity right now. This would not come anywhere near to pushing our capacity anywhere near any kind of dangerous point, or not even close. So it would not have a negative impact or close to maximizing out of our capacity.
Is that for their total or phase one?
No, it's all thing.
It's all 3 buildings.
All 3 buildings would only increase our flow by 4% of what's going on now. And we're at 80 out of, I can't remember the numbers, but we're not 80%.
There's room.
Yeah, we're good. We got a good margin there. That's it.
Nice job, Will.
I wasn't ready, but now.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we'll move on to our discussion, potential action items. First item is application fee and escrow policy. And it looked like
We didn't have it in the packet because there was still an unanswered question at the time of the last.
that's what I saw in the finance meeting, that it was still going to be out for review, so.
Yeah.
Doesn't really pass that. Short-term rental task force. The document is in your packet. I think everyone's had an opportunity to review this, or I hope you have. And I guess.
We talked about this last month, and there were some issues with the clarity of who the members of the task force would be.
So that's been changed a little bit.
Did anybody have any questions or comments about the task force document or moving forward with the task force?
Well, I think that we need to.
I think we need to too.
Somebody needs to, and the planning commission's, recommendation has been for months now that it be a task force based on reviewing for 2 years everybody in the county and what all the different people have done, and coming to the conclusion that the task force would be the best way to try and achieve the goals.
Yeah, I had hoped that the planning commission would have been able to give us some recommendations of its own based on its studies, but given that that didn't happen, I think this is what we've got to do. It remains an issue. I don't know what will happen in the future, but given the numbers and given the quick sales of properties in our village, I think it's something we need to look at. And I would move that we agree to create a short-term rental task force that in a few months would come back to us with some recommendations on what we ought to do or possibly ought to do nothing. So that's my motion.
I second.
Okay, moved by Susan and supported by Laura to adopt a Northport short-term rental task force. Any discussion?
So the document here, I like it, and I think it's a great idea, but I wonder if it should give more direction as to what the task force needs to accomplish. If you skim it, you might think those last 4 things that are underlined are what it needs to accomplish. But actually, the aim is in 6 months to return to the village council with recommendations to do nothing or to enact various policy options. Do we want to direct them as to how they are going to accomplish this in a short period of 6 months?
I think that's in the first few paragraphs. The goal is to examine the historic, current, and future situation, create a housing census, identifying homes rented as STRs so we know what percentage of our households are STRs, research the costs and benefits of STRs in the community, research how other popular resort towns have handled this via policies, examine how such policies are enforced, and then the bottom stuff is just straight out of the National League of Cities.
So I think, and I don't mean to interrupt, but I think the task force's goal is to do the first of these, which is understanding the landscape and identify where we need to go next.
Mm-hmm. And then I would question the time of 6 months, because this is a new group that doesn't know any of this, supposedly.
So they will have access to all of the planning commission records and recommendations.
Yeah, one thing too, last month, that was my concern one of my main concerns with this document was the timeline. I thought that saying 6 months was probably potentially too quickly to rush a decision. And people pointed out that putting a timeline on there just to give them a goal to work towards is not necessarily a bad idea, which I do think there's some value to that, so that, we're not just.
They could always ask for an extension.
I was going to say, if we get to
Yeah.
6 months and they feel like they need more time, we can certainly.
And right now, we're facing 6 months of fall and winter, which is good, because I think it would be valuable for the community for us to be discussing this actively, discussing options by the beginning of the next tourist season.
Yeah, another thing that I would like to see, I fully support doing this and very much want to see this happen. I wanted to see a task force. But I have received this week multiple calls from members of the public who saw it on the agenda and were sure that that meant that we're restricting STRs and we're taking them away and they're not going to be able to afford their houses anymore and all these things. So I was wondering, because I was like, well, if you read in the Dropbox the document, I wonder if it's possible to put this, if we're forming the new task force, and I don't know if we have people for all these positions, if we maybe can put it on the front of the website or something so that it's a little bit easier to direct people to what the goals are, because I'm like, no, that's definitely not the goal of the task force, at all. So I just think to kind of ease some people's concerns, because there are concerns on both sides, but I just don't want people to have the wrong impression as to what this task force is doing.
Yeah, certainly this is available in the Dropbox and it.
Well, it
can be
is there
posted.
now, I
Yeah.
think, it's just that that's
And,
much harder.
You know, I don't know how Chairman McCann would go about selecting these people, but maybe people want to volunteer to be on it, or.
Yeah, and I think a couple of people have already offered to serve on the task force.
And I do
So-
know someone that would be interested too.
I'd be interested first.
So I think getting the word out is that's always the hardest thing.
The idea of putting it on the front of the village website under, what's new.
Mhm.
Say we're still seeking volunteers to serve on the task force and select, 2 or 3 sentences and have access to the full document for people to read further. Sounds like a good idea.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. We do have a motion on the floor. All right, so no money, so we need a roll call? No. All right, so it was moved by Susan, supported by Laura, to create the Northport Short-Term Rental Task Force. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, motion passes. Create the task force. We'll get that up on the website. And I guess people could email their letters of interest to cmccann@villageofnorthport.net. We'll put that on the website too. Okay, no C. Discussion potential action item D, dedicate the Marina Pavilion.
I'll make the motion that the village council dedicates the Marina Pavilion to Kent Holton.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved by Will, supported by Hugh, to dedicate the Marina Pavilion to Kent Holton. Discussion?
Earlier, there was a reference to dedicating the gazebo to Kent Holton. I thought that was wrong, so it's the pavilion.
It's the pavilion.
Yeah.
Where music is.
Right, I fully support that.
Yeah, great tribute.
Just a clarification, what does that mean? Are you on the side? What are you proposing? How would you dedicate it?
Well, I see it as getting a plaque and putting it on, and maybe having a ceremony when
Yeah.
Kent is available. And for now, I think we could keep it here, I don't know if we want to announce it yet, well, his brother's here, so.
It's actually, we're broadcasting.
Maybe the first music in the park.
That's
in
what
the
I was
spring.
thinking.
That would be
Could
great.
you get, would the Arts Association be willing to do the plaque?
Yes, I think we can handle that.
Okay, if you guys can handle all the ceremony and
Right.
the details, that'd be great. We'll give you the authority to do it.
I like to think.
And I'm sure they'll do a job. I think you
Oh, yeah.
want to reserve the right to review before it goes up, and it's village property.
If
On village
you think
property.
so.
And I think just to review it.
Okay.
If you set a precedent, you don't want to.
Okay, so I'll
Give
amend my
yourself
motion for the village council to dedicate the Marina Pavilion to Kent Holton, plaque and ceremony to be arranged by, are you NAA or NACA?
Performing arts.
NCAC,
PAC.
sorry,
Northport
NPAC,
Performing Arts
subject to review and approval by the council once it's
I'll
final.
still second it.
There you go.
All right.
Thank you.
Moved by Will, supported by Hugh, for the motion as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nays? There are none. All right. E, plans for the welcome sign. There was something in there from Peninsula Perennials.
It's like $600.
And these have been installed already or yet to be installed?
Yet to be installed.
I saw it.
To answer out of the turn, yes, to be installed.
Okay.
We just, again, got the sign up
This
today.
fall.
Yeah, hopefully next week, with everybody's approval. We have some more work to do around the base of the sign. Get on that hopefully tomorrow.
Isn't this within a general maintenance budget? I mean, do we really have to
We just thought, since there's an expense and this is everything, but yes, it is part of the budget.
What's the total, 1,200? It was 6 and 6, 600 and 600?
Oh, it's just $643.25.
And then
For the
this
plants.
160.
Oh, Chris has a new one where there were some chicks and hens purchased, and that this also would be included in our maintenance budget, but it's $166.25.
Okay, so you just
Just
need,
keeping you informed and a motion would be nice.
you need 643.25.
Yeah.
So I will move that the council approve the expenditure of $643.25 for plants for the welcome sign.
Support.
Moved by Will, supported by Jane, it sounded like, to approve this. Yeah, 643.25 for the plants. We're spending money, so we'll do a roll call vote, starting with Susan,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
you, Laura,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
and Will.
Yes.
And yes, motion passes. Next up, we have item F, NLTUA potential reappointment. Chris, our village representative's term has come to an end, and we need to either A, reappoint him if he so chooses to continue to serve, or to seek other options. So I would, Chris, would you be willing to continue to serve as the NLTUA representative for the village?
I would be willing to continue. I know there's been some discussion about, yes, I would like to continue.
Okay. So I would nominate Chris Holton as our village representative to the NLTUA.
Second.
All right, moved by McCann, supported by Will. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Last up, item G, we have the NLTUA Articles of Incorporation Amendment. This is to amend the Articles of Incorporation for NLTUA so that we can have a
This came up, I can take this one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because this was part of the last NLTUA meeting. So basically, because there was some chaos in the NLTUA this spring, the annual meeting didn't happen, which violated the bylaws. So what we decided the best way to do was to amend the bylaws to fix the problem. One, by allowing the annual meeting this year to be on October 17th, which would fix that problem. And then the other problem was that nobody really wanted to do these at night or 7 o'clock at night. So we're changing the time of the annual meeting every year just to get back on track. So this is basically just housekeeping, but it has to be approved by you guys. It doesn't, there's no financial effect whatsoever.
I move that we approve the resolution to change the date and time of the annual meeting of the NLTUA.
Support.
All right, moved by Susan, supported by Jane to approve the resolution. Any further discussion?
This has already been approved by the township, correct?
I don't know, but they're looking at the exact same motion, and I expect them to approve it.
Okay.
It's on their agenda for Tuesday.
Yeah.
All right.
So resolutions require a roll call vote. So starting with Will,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Susan, and yes. All right, motion passes. We have a payment of the bills.
I make a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $212,417.12 when funds become available.
Second.
Moved by Hugh, supported by Will to pay the bills in the amount of $212,417.12. Any discussion?
Yes, we discussed a few meetings ago whether to keep paying bills, approving the payment of bills after we have paid them, or switch to approving the payment of bills before we paid them. Where are we?
Well, we should put that on our agenda for next meeting.
That was gonna be my comment.
Yeah,
I was
we can't do
thinking,
that
I
now.
feel like we should
So
talk to.
I do think that warrants a
Oh,
good
I
discussion.
was just asking a question.
No, we forgot about
And I
it.
thought,
Okay.
I was gonna bring it up because I just thought that it would make sense to wait until Jim is here and
Okay.
I like that
have that
too.
discussion when he's here, since he has experience as well.
All right, but, okay, then let's vote.
Okay,
Yes.
starting with Susan,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Hugh,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
and Will.
Yes.
And yes, bills are paid. Second public comment, again, 5 minutes, and if you could state your name and residence.
Yeah, Mike Stoffel, 654 Mill Street. I got a couple things on the dark sky. I hope when you guys really get down to finalizing your dark sky, you think of safety, number one, because I know I got a nice picture window. I see people walking in front of my house. I see golf carts going by. Okay, but sometimes they're young kids. I know for a fact, 2 of them don't have driver's licenses, but they drive all over the place. Another thing is fishing at the marina. I don't know what your issue is with fishing at the marina, but I do know you can fish inside that marina as long as you are not obstructing the boat traffic going in and out of the marina. That has been tested in more than one harbor in the state of Michigan, and it has gone to court. Now, if you guys want to go to court again, that's fine, but now the personal docks, like let's say, pick on Will for example, on his dock, they're renting them. No, you have no business being on those docks whatsoever. But on the break wall, and the one new break wall they made, and way back when Greg King was administrator, that whole thing, when they talked about getting that done, that was supposed to be for a fishing pier for people too. And I think as long as the people keep their, clean, don't drop the fish on the walkways and stuff like that, common courtesy, whatever. But on the ordinances, sometimes, and I'm agreeing with Will, there's no point in having these ordinances if nobody's going to enforce them, as long as they're enforced fairly. The mill pond, I don't know what you guys got planned there. I've missed some of that, my fault. But I will say this, as a study that you guys recently had done by professionals, supposedly, they couldn't even get the brook trout and the rainbow trout accurate. The rainbow trout is planted by the sportsman. The brook trout have been natural in that creek for the 60 years that I've come up here and before I moved up here, fished that. So whoever's doing this study better know the difference between the two fish. It might help. And I do have a big thank you to Chris and the boys for helping me out. We had a new building. We got in. Joni helped me with the getting the permit, and they did a really good job, and I appreciate it a whole lot. That's it.
Thanks, Mike.
Whoop, one last thing. One last thing. Okay, I'll make this quick. You guys are gonna do this short-term rental agreement, okay? Here's something to think about, because I have a young son, I got a daughter, I have some other young people. They're desperately trying to find a place to live in the area without moving out. And I don't know about some of you, but a lot of people, when you first started out, you couldn't afford $3,000 a month house payment on some of these prices that are going up. And here's a suggestion. I'll make it quick. On the short-term rental, if they live in the state of Michigan, then I can see letting them. But if they're out of state, they have no interest in living here whatsoever. They're just buying homes to rent them. I think you got to put a stop to it. That's just a suggestion. That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other public? In Zoom?
They're all watching the game.
Yep, I know. Council comments?
I'd just like to say what we've already said before, but just to thank Chet for his time that he's done here.
It's been a pleasure working well.
Yeah.
All right, number 13, adjournment.
Yeah, I'll move to adjourn.
I'll support that. All right. We're adjourned. Thanks for the meeting, everybody.
Yeah, great job, Chris.
Thanks you guys for staying so long.